Have you noticed that yoga classes are getting shorter? When I started yoga, we had at least an hour and a half class every practice. Now some of the classes I teach aren't even a full hour. I noticed also on my YouTube channel that's the case. I'm going to shorter and shorter focuses on very specific body parts. For this practice, let's do a full practice, just as if you were going to a yoga studio for your class. We'll begin seated. For this practice, if you've got blocks, grab them. If you have a strap, grab it. And you might even want a blanket. I'm seated in Sukhasana, this comfortable seated pose for me, but for you it may not be so comfortable. I'm elevated, so I've done things to make this a comfortable moment for me to start my practice. As you focus in on your breath, close your eyes. Draw your awareness to the breath. In the yoga practice, especially those days when we're so busy, it's hard to get in a full practice. And as you sit here, see how you can refine your seated position and refine your breath. So the in-breath is longer and stronger. The out-breath is also long and full, in through the nose and out through the nose. In this practice, let's focus on commitment to our practice, commitment to ourselves, to really understand ourselves in the practice. The commitment that we give to yoga practice and the commitment that we give to just showing up for our friends and family members allows us to expand so much more fully in our relationships, in our practice, and in that feeling of being in integrity, being all in. Continue the practice of a full in-breath through the nose, a pause after the in-breath, a long out-breath through the nose, a pause after the out-breath, now with your eyes bright, come to all fours position on your mat. In all fours position, spread your fingers, tuck your toes under, look back at your feet and see if you can hide your feet behind your knees. On the in-breath, draw your chin forward and up. Exhale, see if you can draw from the navel back to the spine to get fullness in the back body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Let's add a bit more movement by drawing the pelvis back to the heels. So you get lots of hip flexion. And with the hands committed, firmly planted with fingers spread, bring more weight to your feet so you feel like the foundation of your hands and your feet are really charged, really engaged. Inhale, come forward and lift your chin, draw your heart forward. Exhale, draw back again. Take more weight on your heels. Reach back. So as you reach the pelvis back, you're reaching the hands forward. Inhale, draw your heart forward, lift your chin. Exhale, draw back. Inhale, come to all fours position and lift yourself up to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, as if you're walking the dog, bend your right knee, straighten your right leg, bend your left, and lift your left heel high. With that strong commitment of the hands pressing down, the feet engaged, you start to bring your awareness to the back side of the body, to the fullness of the breath that can expand the back side of the body. And now, as you're pedaling the legs, notice the expansion from the pelvis all the way down to the heels. Come to a place of stillness in your downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to your feet with your knees bent. Place your hands to your low back. Rise up. Inhale, reach your arms up, reach back. Exhale, take your hands down to the mat. Walk your hands forward to come to downward facing dog again. From downward facing dog, reach your right leg high, bend your right knee, lift your right knee high, release your right foot down, lift your left leg up, bend your left knee, again, lift high, release your left foot down, look forward, walk your feet to the hands. Place your hands to your low back with knees bent. Rise up. Stand in Utkatasana. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. With eyes bright, reach your hands up and slightly back. Exhale, come to the earth with your knees bent. Step your right foot back. Bring your right knee to the earth. Take your hands right above your left knee. Settle deeper into the pose. Reach both hands up. Take your gaze up. Take your hands back. Your gaze back. Release your hands down. Step the back foot forward. Place your hands to the low back. Rise up. Pause in Tadasana. As you root down from the pelvis to the earth, you feel this commitment, this strength, this rooted quality in your pose. Maintaining that, now expand from the pelvis to the fingertips, out through the crown of the head. Expand as you reach up and back. Exhale, take your hands to the earth. Step your left leg back. Bring your left knee down. Place your hands right above your right knee. Settle into your pose. Reach both hands up. Spread your fingers as a way to tone. The commitment of the actions allows for this engagement from the fingers all the way down to the pelvis. Place your hands back to the mat. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to your low back. Rise up. Inhale, take your arms up, reach back. Exhale, bend your knees to place your hands down. Step to all fours position. In all fours, once again, reaffirm that commitment to the practice, to the engagement, as you press the fingertip tops down to get a nice, strong foundation with the hands. Maintain that commitment as you move the heart forward and slowly lower yourself to the mat. With your fingers spreading, the elbows hugging in, reach your heart forward. Express this fullness of your commitment. Have this nice openness of the upper chest, nice engagement of the upper back. Exhale, release. Come through all fours position to downward facing dog. Pause in the downward facing dog. Once again, walk your hands back to your feet. Bend your knees. Place your hands above your knees. Straighten your arms. On your next in-breath, reach your arms up. Reach your gaze up. Have fullness in the back body. In this strong chair pose, Utkatasana, can you drop yourself a little bit lower with taking a little bit more weight to the heels, but yet keep that nice openness of the upper chest? Now place your hands down. Walk your hands forward again. Come to downward facing dog. Reach your right leg up again, lift it high to the sky. Now see if you can take the right foot down slightly so that wherever it feels like your pelvis is parallel, you're going to commit to finding that for yourself. So lifting high is not parallel, but see if you can find that. And release your right foot down. Now let's do the same thing with the left leg. Lift your left leg. First, lift it high so you know it's out of alignment. Now, can you create this commitment to align the pelvis in such a way that it feels like for you today, this feels aligned? Your foot is very active, your toes are spread, they're committed. Release your left foot down. Walk your feet now to your hands. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Come to a nice standing pose. From the standing pose at the top of the mat, step wide. As you draw your awareness now to the long edge of the mat, look down at your feet and pull the feet in toward each other. As you do, bend your knees. Pull in strong engagement, strong commitment to your action. As you pull your feet in toward each other, draw your heart forward and down. Come to your fingertip tops. Step your hands as if you were in this wide stance, downward facing dog. Release your head. Bend your right knee deeply and straighten your left leg. Come back to the center. Bend your left knee deeply, straighten your right leg. Bend both knees, pull your feet in with that strong feeling of commitment, of engagement, really of gaining so much strength in your legs. Take your hands to your low back, hug your elbows in, keep pulling your feet in toward the midline as you rise up. Release your hands away from your low back. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. One pose that especially illustrates commitment is Virabhadrasana number 2, warrior pose. So expand, reach your arms out. See if you can commit to more fullness, more opening in the pelvic area by dropping in a little bit deeper into your pose. Extend your gaze out through the extended right hand. Reach back with the left hand. Create this nice openness in your chest with commitment, with resolve, with strength to the back leg. Root down to rise up out of your pose. Come to the opposite side. Turn your left toes out. Bend your left knee. Drop into the pose. Even though so much weight is on the front leg, can you commit more fully to the back leg by really pulling in to the midline? Inhale, extend your arms and your gaze. Keep the back leg strong, and through that strength and commitment, drop a little bit deeper into the front leg. Receive fullness to your breath. Root down through the back leg to inhale and rise up to come out of your pose. Parallel your feet again. Bend your knees again. Pull in with commitment. Keep that. Draw your heart forward and slightly down. Release your hands to the mat. Walk your hands over to the right. Bend your right knee a lot. Reach your left hand out to get this nice length to the side body. Take the top of the left thigh back. Draw your heart just a little bit deeper into this forward fold. Soften more. As the upper body softens, can you keep that commitment to the back left leg? Keep that strength, that pulling in action. Come back to the center position. Bend both knees. Take your inner thighs back so the inner thighs are nice and wide apart. Now start to straighten your right leg. Walk your hands over to the left with the left knee bent. A little bit more weight on the left side, but the right side stays committed. You're pulling in from the right leg. Reach your right hand so it's a little bit taller, reaching out a little bit more than the left hand to get the length that the side body desires, for that spaciousness to the side body. Now walk your hands back to the center position. Pull your feet in with that strength and commitment. Place your hands to your low back. Rise up. Come out of the pose. Step your feet hip distance apart. If you'd like to step off your mat so that you get a nice firm foundation. Please do. So whether you're on or off the mat, create this strong and steady foundation through 2 feet before you transfer your weight to your right foot and have a feeling of lightness on the left leg. So the right leg is bearing most of the weight. The left foot is free to lift itself up. You might want to just take hold of the left knee and stand with steadiness to the right leg before parking your left foot to the inner right knee. Come to a tree pose with steadiness, with commitment to the right leg. And you free your arms to create a little balanced action. As you root down from the pelvis to the earth, feel this nice elongation and freedom from the pelvis out through the fingertips, up through the crown of the head. Release your hands down. Release your left foot to the mat. Come to Utkatasana. Have this nice steadiness, evenness on the left foot and the right foot before transferring a bit more weight to the left foot. Lift your right knee up as you're ready and just give it a good hug in for a lot of hip flexion. You can point your right toes so that the base of the toes land first to the inner thigh or inner leg, wherever it is for you. Then plant your heel. Use a nice openness of the pose, a nice spread to your wings. To reach your arms up to come to full tree pose, Vrksasasana. Keep a nice steadiness, a nice rootedness from the pelvis down to the earth. Nice strength in the upper body. A nice commitment to rooting yourself into the earth. You can slowly release your hands and release your right foot. Once again, come back to Tadasana. As you root down through both feet, you can feel this strong commitment in this balanced action. If you stepped off the mat, come back to the mat in a nice wide stance. Some of us like to use blocks for this pose. We'll combine the balanced action that we just got in tree pose to creating a nice openness in Ardha Chandrasana or half moon pose. Turn your right toes out. Look at your feet. Line up from the front heel to the back arch. Reach your arms up. We'll go into the pose via parsvakonasana. Bend your right knee just like we did in Warrior 2. Place your right hand to the block or to the floor. Lift your back heel. Step the block forward. Step the back foot forward. lift up. As you lift your back leg, lift it high. Lift your arm up. Just come to a nice fullness in your pose. Come out of the pose slowly. Place your hand right to your waist. Bend your knee. Reach your back foot back very fully. With strength and commitment of the back leg, lift yourself up and out of the pose. Release your hands. Make sure you have plenty of room to move into this pose, or you might collide with something. Turn your right toes in, your left toes out. Block or no block, your option. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, draw into Virabhadrasana 2. Move to parsvakonasana by taking your hand to the block or to the floor. Lift your back heel up. Step the block forward or step your back foot forward, whichever feels most comfortable for you. And just pause before lifting your back leg high. Engage. You're committed with the standing leg. Can you commit to more freedom, more openness with the lifted leg? Lift it high. Spread your toes. Open your chest. Lift your arm up with the right hand lifted. Keep a nice steadiness, nice fullness in the pose. Before releasing your hand down, look down. Maybe even look back to the back leg so that you can land it nicely in line with the front foot before lifting yourself out of the pose. Release your hands. Heel toe your feet in to come to Utkatasana. Release your hands. Close your eyes. Receive fullness in your breath. You're committed to your practice, committed to a nice evenness in the flow of the breath. Committed to engagement, even in this more static pose. Now with your eyes bright, let's make our way to a seated pose. To come to a seated position, step your feet just slightly wider than hip distance apart. We're going to a squat position, and for some of us, a wider stance works. If that's not necessary for you, by all means, just keep your feet hip distance apart. And in one of the rare yoga movements, we can take the toes out so that your heels are closer to one another than the toes. With your toes turned out with this external rotation, it might be more accessible for you as you bend your knees and draw your pelvis back. Maybe even use your arms to reach forward to come to a squat position. If you can lower yourself down so that the heels are pressing, and maybe even work a prayer pose between the knees as you hug the knees into the midline, into the upper arms. You can just feel how this opens the pelvic area so nicely. Now slowly take your pelvis to the mat, and you can use your hands and arms to do that. take your right shin bone in front. With your right shin bone in front, stack your left foot on top. If it feels like the hips are just so tight that the knee won't come down, first try elevating your pelvis. If you've got blocks, you can sit on your blocks. Maybe the knee will come down slightly. If that's not working for you, extend your right leg out. You still get a nice hip opener. You just encourage the left thigh to draw down. You can place your hand right at the top of the thigh. If you place your hand right at the pant leg crease, and just give a soft but loving touch, you can begin to feel how the hip just surrenders just slightly. Now, keeping that, whether you're in what we often call double pigeon pose or Agnistambhasanaa, the fire log pose, one knee might be slightly lifted still, but you're just stacking these logs, these shin bones, on top of one another. Now do a simple twist. Take your right hand to the left knee, turn your heart. With your left kneecap pushing into the palm of the right hand, turn your heart. Turn your gaze. Now release out of the pose. And let's work on the other side. So stack your right shin over your left. And again, just try it out on this side. If you feel like, oh my gosh, this is really not working for the right hip, extend your left leg out. You might be able to allow the leg to just release down. You could come to the twist with the hand to the knee. With your left palm pushing into the right knee, turn your heart, turn your gaze, release. Or you might be able to now try that fire log pose, just stacking one shin over the other to come to a twist. Release out of the pose. Take your feet together in Baddha Konasana. Have the feet pressing one another. I'm still elevated on blocks. If you find that your hips are so nice and open that your knees are not lifted really high, then by all means, you can come to the mat without elevation. With the hands, lift your knees slightly. With the power of the legs, reach out. You reach out as if you're trying to grow your thigh bone from the pelvis to the knee. Now bend your elbows to draw your heart forward slightly. Maintain a strong action in the legs. Keep drawing the heart forward. You might notice a pulling sensation in the inner thigh area. Inhale and lift yourself up. From Baddha Konasana, you can either stay on an elevated surface like the blocks or a blanket, or come to the mat, extend your right leg out, keep your left leg where it is. See if you can pull the heel in. You may want to support the knee. With that support of the knee, you may find the pose more accessible. As you turn toward your right foot, get tall, get long. Take your strap, place it around your right foot, right at the base of the toes. Hold on the strap, hold onto the strap with two hands. Stay tall. Urge your left ribs to draw into the twist action more fully. Bend your elbows. Draw toward your right toes. You can inch your fingers on the strap. Keep on elongating the sides of the body. You'll find a lovely lengthening action to the left side, but can you get a little bit more length to the right side? You stay committed. You stay in the pose in a way that allows you to lengthen. On the next in-breath, rise up. Come back to Baddha Konasana with your feet together. Do the actions that we were doing before by lifting the knees up with the strength of the arms. But can you draw the knees down with the strength of the legs so that you get this nice fullness to the pose? From there, draw your heart forward. Inhale, come out of the pose. You can use a block to support the bent leg as we come to Janu sirsasana. As you extend your left leg out, turn to face the extended left leg. Get tall. Take your strap around your left foot. Holding onto the strap in both hands with the base of the toes pressing into the strap. And get tone in the leg through spreading your toes. On your exhale breath, reach your heart toward your toes. The in-breath kind of finds you lifting up slightly out of the pose. The out-breath has you drawing a little bit deeper. Stay committed to elongating the spine. Even though you're in a forward bend, you want to keep the length of the spine. The energetic qualities associated with lengthening as you reach your heart toward the toes. Keep your chin slightly lifted on this variation. And inhale, rise up. Come back to Baddha Konasana once again with your feet together, with your hands to your shins. Lift your knees up slightly. Resist by extending from the pelvis to the knees. Draw forward. Let's keep the feet very active. The breath full. On the next in-breath, rise up. Fold your legs together. Come to lying down with your knees bent. As you lie with your knees bent, receive a nice in-breath and out-breath. And notice how your body just aligns so properly when you lie on your back. As you take the heads of the arm bones back to lift your chest, step your feet closer to one another so they're touching. Now take the knees wide apart. So you're in the Supta Baddha Konasana pose. Bend your elbows. Press your elbows down to lift your chest high. On your next in-breath, lift your pelvis up. Just get this nice fullness in the upper chest. Keep your feet working as you lift high. Release your pelvis down to the mat. Release your arms. Fold your knees in toward each other. Find your strap and take your strap around your right foot at the base of the toes, same place that we had them in our seated pose, Janu sirsasana. This time take the strap in the right hand and wrap the strap around your hand so that there's not so much gripping action with your fingers. As you spread your toes to gain this nice engagement, draw your toes just a little bit closer to the top of the mat. Now reach your left foot out toward the back end of the mat. Draw your right toes over to the right side just a little bit, not too deep here. Keep your left hand at your left hip point so that you can get a nice alignment to the pelvis. Turn your toes so the toes are looking toward the earth. As you externally rotate the leg, just draw a little bit deeper if possible. Inhale, lift your foot up. Take your strap in your left hand, wrap the strap again, hold on to the strap as you draw your right leg just slightly across the midline. Lift your right heel a little bit higher than the toes. Spread your toes. You might want to urge the top of the right thigh to move back just by pressing the hand right at the pant leg crease. Now draw your foot just a little bit further where the right hip will lift off the mat. Draw over. The right hand is still working the top of the thigh to move it back away from your waistline. Now inhale and lift the right foot up. Take the strap off your right foot and to the side. With your feet together, take your knees wide apart. With your feet pressing in toward each other, that commitment to hugging the midline here. Step the feet maybe a little bit closer to your pelvis now that you've done this a few times. Take your elbows on the earth, the palms facing each other. Press the heads of the arm bones back. Lift your pelvis up and keep the fullness of the front side of the body with commitment. Draw your pelvis down to the earth. Fold the legs in toward each other. Take the strap in your left hand. With your left foot in the strap at the base of the toes, reach your left leg high, wrap the strap around your hand, and reach your right leg away from the top of the mat, but take your left foot closer to the top of the mat. Draw your left foot toward the left side. You might want to keep your right hand right at the hip point so that you can start to feel when the right hip starts lifting up. Turn your left toes toward the earth. So you're externally rotating the left leg. On the next inhale, lift your foot up. Take hold of the strap with the right hand. Wrap the strap around your hand. Pass the left foot across the midline. That left side of the pelvis is still committed to the earth. The right leg is still engaged and showing its commitment, its steadfastness in this pose. Your left heel is lifted as the toes are spread to the left foot. As you take the top of the thigh back with a little urging of the palm of your hand, you're pressing the top of the thigh back. Now allow a little bit more freedom as you lift the left side of the hip off the mat and draw over. The pose appears so passive, but you're very active in the engagement of the leg muscles, breath. You stay committed to all of the actions that create fullness in this pose. Inhale, lift your left foot up. Exhale, bend your knee. Take the strap to the side so that one more time you can come to Supta Baddha Konasana with your knees bent, with your arms bent and your elbows planted. Draw your knees wide apart. Pull your heels a little bit closer to your pelvis. With the elbows planted, lift the upper chest. Now lift the pelvis up off the mat. And with the engagement of the legs, the commitment that you express through the physicality of the pose, lift high. Slowly release your pelvis down. Release your arms. Extend your legs out. Close your eyes. Take your attention to your breath. Breathe in deep. and out long. Breathe in deep and out long. Discover for yourself what it's like to have a very free and natural breath. Soften your facial muscles. Breathe in deep and out long. Breathe in deep breathe out long. Breathe in deep and out long. Savasana gives us an opportunity to recognize how, when we stay committed to our practice, to the nuances of the physical actions of our practice, we discover the benefits of those refinements, whether it be the breath, the ease that you start to feel, the engagement. You start to see the benefits of commitments to your own practice. You start to assimilate and refine those actions to customize it for yourself. Stay with a nice evenness to your breath. Make it a very free and natural breath. Bend your knees and plant your feet. Reach your arms up and over your head. Draw over to your right side. Let your right arm be your pillow. Pause there. And without much movement to your legs, have your arms support a nice easeful lifting quality to come to a seated pose. We honor ourselves in making the commitment to come to the mat, to engage very fully in the practice. To that commitment, we bow. Namaste.